let's start with the 12 dangers, and danger number 1 is what we call the Firemen Obligation. The Firemen Obligation is what really happens is most entrepreneurs that we deal with spend most of their time working in the business, putting out the fires, and occasionally I talk to people who have been to conferences, they've been to their dealer comparison groups and so on, and when they come back with all these good ideas, the first things they get hit with is all the fires that have, or the brown snakes, or the fires that have happened while they've been away. So they tend to be very reactive rather than proactive, and a lot of times they don't get the opportunity to start with the things that they've picked up while they've been away. They're spending all their time just putting out the fire. So that's one of the first dangers. The second danger is what we call the abandoned ambitions. And really what that talks about is a lot of people, once again, you write down these goals, you go to things and you have ideas that you want to achieve, and once again when you come back you don't get to attack them. So written personal goals, written business goals don't seem to have the opportunity to flourish that they probably should, because as you know, if you write things down and you share them, you've got a much greater chance of achieving them. The third thing, and this is something I talk about all the time, is what we call the unaware squared trap. The unaware squared trap relates to the fact that you just don't know what you don't know. And it, whilst that sounds sort of a little funny, it's what we call blissful unawareness. In other words, you can be cruising along, going through life, and not aware of the things that are really going to be dangers and that are going to trip you up. So danger 3, the unaware squared trap. Danger 4, and I'm always a little careful about saying this, but danger 4 is what we call the pompous presumption. And I strike this a lot of times, and I'm careful that I say this too, but the reality is the pompous presumption is where people have spent a lot of money, entrepreneurs have spent a lot of money with their accountants, their solicitors, and because of that they kind of figure that they've got everything taken care of, everything's under control. And in some ways it's sort of a superior attitude, a condescending attitude when I talk to them about things that might be dangers for them, and they just kind of figure they got it all taken care of. It's really something that trips people up because they don't open themselves up to the awareness that something else might be wrong. Danger number 5 is what we call the recruitment risk, and that is that, and I've fallen for this myself, a lot of times people hire people just like themselves. Because they get on well, they think, yep, that's the employee I'm going to take. So it's a bit like putting a round peg in a square hole in a lot of cases, because what you really need is people who are complementary to each other. And there's different not personality types, different instinctive types of people you need in different roles. And so it's really important that you don't suffer the recruitment risk. You make sure you pay attention and you look for the people whose core skills and core beings are going to match the role that they're put in. Many times entrepreneurs get that wrong. The next thing is what I call a creative void, and I'll pull my iPhone out of my pocket here, and I'm just going to ask you the question, how much time are you spending in your business allowing people to be creative? Okay. Mostly I find that entrepreneurial businesses spend a little bit of time on creativity and trying to incrementally make their way forward. But I really feel that the creative void, danger number 6, is something that's real. And people are missing the opportunity to take that time to actually encourage people to come in and to be creative and to create a forum for good ideas. Danger number 7 is what we call the leadership lapse, and I guess that's oftentimes people looking for ways to better engage their employees. Remember, employees work for their reasons, not for yours. So the leadership lapse is saying, well, okay, that danger refers to the fact that are you spending enough time, are you looking hard enough to try and find ways for people to work for their reasons? Are you helping the employees become engaged in your work? In other words, encouraging them by finding out what really drives them and then giving them the opportunity to pursue that. Danger number 8 is one that always kind of intrigues me, and that's what we call strategy turbulence. And strategy turbulence is because of the danger. What's happening is people are tending to, entrepreneurs, business owners I deal with, tend to have one-on-one relationships with their professional advisors. So for example, you engage your accountant once a year, you get together with them. You usually, from a reactive point of view, you engage your solicitor, your financial planner you may have a separate meeting with. And what happens is you're creating turbulence every time you have individual meetings with these people, because you're not giving all parties to the team the opportunity to work together. And the great danger is that you've got ad hoc relationships and there's not a common thread, there's not an opportunity for all those professional advisors you engage to work together as a team. Danger number 9 is what we call information inflation, and that is, I tend to find that for myself and for most entrepreneurs, what you tend to get in your emails and communications every day is more compliance-based, hard fact-based, and so on, and you're tending once again to be very reactive, if not delegated properly, very reactive to all the information that's coming into your life. Very little of the information is about what's going to make life better for you or what's going to make life better for your business. Most of it is, I guess, targeted the other way. And to me, that's one of the great dangers, is just filtering out the information that comes through and finding ways to deal with that separately. The next danger, danger number 10, is what we call the priority puzzle. And I guess this stems back in a lot of ways to what's happened in the past, and that is the want. We were all taught years and years ago that there was a prize if you were first to work and last to leave. If you were a workaholic, that tended to be a badge of honour and so on. The old turning out the lights syndrome. And for me, the priority puzzle is just making sure that you prioritise your time. So you're doing what you're really good at, things that create great results, generate the greatest results, and that you love doing. Prioritise so that you're doing that and you've delegated everything else very well. So that's a real danger. Danger number 11 is what we call the industry intervention, and I think what you're having happen these days is a lot of the industries, such as the financial services industry, the pharmaceutical industry, that certainly the greatest examples are the music industry and the video industry, are all suffering huge commoditization, and I guess the global economy is creating what we call creative destruction for those industries, and that is they're effectively being destroyed. The music industry, who buys a CD, who buys a cassette in it these days, and how many video stores have we seen closed down? So it's happening very much in the motor industry, I believe, as well. Commoditization is the greatest danger, and what's happening with commoditization is margins get squeezed and so on, and the way to eliminate that danger is to look at ways of creating uniqueness. Danger number 12 is what we call the growth stunt, and that is, I believe from what I've seen, a lot of times your growth targets, your future is determined by outside sources, not by yourself. We have a concept we talk about called the 10 times multiplier, the 10 times growth factor, where you take charge of what's going to happen in your business and it brings it back to yourself instead of being constrained by other people's wants and expectations on your capability and your growth. What have you documented in regard to the growth, in regard to the potential of your future? The growth stunt, to me, is danger number 12.